Now, Raf, here's what I'll say about this. And you know that I'm always going to take this stance, probably every interview that we ever have.
Sure.
You're going to have to go back and put yourself in the place that we were when you first started interviewing me, and you used to criticize any criticism that I would have towards Gordon and say that I was a mean-spirited, nasty coach towards this innocent young boy. Okay? And just know that I knew exactly who he was then and who he was going to become. And, I was criticized for, anything I said negative about him. And, here we go.
Okay, first of all, I understand you better. And I have gone on record on this show. I want to be very clear. I have gone on record with multiple guests that said the exact same thing that you did, which is, yeah, I used to give Garry shit because it's like, why are you picking on this, you said, boy, which, by the way, put that one together and figure out if that doesn't get taken out of context. What is up, ladies and gents? It is your friendly neighborhood BJJ podcast for Rafa Esparza, coming to you with another great installment of the Grappling Hour. We have a guest. You know him. We'll get to him in a second. But before we get back to that particular guest, a few business orders. First and foremost, if you like the show, and I hope that you do, you can support us in a multitude of ways. The first of which is you can go on over to patreon.com/grappling hour. Yes, we have made the move to patreon.com. We're still on that other site, but I like this one better because it has more accessibility, et cetera, et cetera. They actually fixed their app, and that's what sold me on it. So patreon.com/grappling hour. For $5 a month, you can see these interviews 30 days before anybody else. And for a few extra dollars, you can see segments where we do tape breakdown studies with the athletes about their matches. We also do extra bonus content that's not available anywhere else, including topics about steroids or whatever comes up, or on occasion, stuff that you yourself pitch. And there is a segment that I am recording with this guest after we do this interview that is called Roast Raf, which I think is the most popular of them, where people roast my competition footage. It's not good for me, as per my therapist, but it is good for everybody else, apparently. So I just thought, who better than to see footage of me at my worst than the people that I like the least? So if you guys enjoy those things, patreon.com/grappling hour. You can also like, comment, and subscribe to this video. And if you have no idea what you want to say in the comment section, we will give you a prompt by the end of this episode. You can also follow us on our Discord to continue the conversations that we have here on this show. And normally I say that, but I recognize if you continue any of the conversations that Garry and I have, well, I think you're not exactly the smartest person that we have watching the show, because I don't know that there is going to be any intellect on this episode. I don't know who lowers and who raises their intellect here. It's a crapshoot given on the episode. And if you love this show and you want to support us, check this out. We got merch right here. Look at this. Look at the shirt. Yeah, that's right. You can get this, or you can get the classic black. We have 3 other colors. We're actually starting to run out of the extra colors. But we have the Grappling Hour t-shirts. These run for $25. You can get on over rafesparza.com/merch or grapplinghour.com. And oh my God, it's a hoodie. This shit is so fucking warm. And I am telling you guys, when places get cold or you have a cold heart, this helps to warm very nicely. This is running for $45. You can get a combo at $60 for a t-shirt and a hoodie, and we will mail those on out to you as soon as our child labor will do it. We haven't hired real people. I looked into Oompa Loompas. A little more expensive than you'd think, man. They make pretty good money. Anyway, I guess what I'm saying is this. Go support us. All those different places. Patreon, Discord, YouTube. Like, comment, and subscribe. And, of course, on rafesparza.com/merch or grapplinghour.com. And give us some of your money. I guess that's really all this comes down to, right? Give us money. Or likes, or comments. It's all the same thing. All right, to our guest. He won his last fight mysteriously. You know, it's kind of weird because we look from afar and we hope for the best, but we prepare for the worst for all of our friends. And in this particular case, it was nice to see him in the win column because he has been not booked by ONE FC. And all of us have been sitting here going, where is he? Is he not going to be on this? They have a Denver card and they're like, nah, let's make him fly back to Japan. That's too easy. It's too easy of a travel from Texas. But our guest is back in the winning column and an incredibly good friend of the show for whatever reasons. You may know him best from his fighting, but you may also know him from his daily posts about trans people. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show. One, Garry Tonon. Garry, how are you doing, sir?
That was a hell of an introduction.
You're welcome.
By the way, how long is it before you just go full henner and you just have like different clothing designs and like inventions that you start pitching on this podcast?
Oh, no, this one's actually very good. What I've done is this one is a hoodie that turns into a lounge chair. And if you're able to do that, it's so, no. Listen to me. It's so good because you could sit there and also it can sit on you. I'll tell you this much. The reason why we all have to plug our shit, it's not like you don't have DVDs, sir. So thank you.
Sure.
I just love the fact that we have famously not been the merch people for so many years. For verbal tap stuff, people would be like, yo, do you have t-shirts? And we would. And I would tell them no because I didn't want to ship them because that would fall on me. But now for this show, since this one's me, I'm like, all right, fine, I'll give you merch. And nothing has made my wife happier than when she comes home and sees like 12 boxes of like apparel and merch. And she's like, who's doing that? And I go, I guess me. So, yeah, that falls on me. But anyway, it's been a blast doing it. Can't say enough good things. And, you know, what's kind of heartwarming is when you're teaching classes and all of your students want to suck up to you. So some days they wear your merch and I go, ooh, I will not be nicer to you still. This is still great, though. And they're very sweet. But there was one guy, I have this rule, and I don't know if you know this, but when I roll with people and I know that they are a subscriber to my show, somehow they beat me up easier for some strange reason. And when people were wearing merch, there was the first time this happened where somebody was wearing my merch, and I go, ooh, am I supposed to roll easier with you now? Because, it's kind of hard to beat somebody up that's wearing one of my shirts. So there is that.
You want them to look good.
Yeah, of course. Garry, you look good. The Jada-ness is sort of depleting. Where do we stand on the hair right now? Because it looks like a normal set of hair.
We're doing pretty good. If I take the headphones off.
Okay.
You can see a little.
It's a smaller divot. I think that you're making wonderful inroads. I mean, sure.
Too. I don't know how to turn my head because I'm mentally disabled here.
It's okay. But here's the good news, though. You are starting to make progress. Like the divots are a little bit less now. And I feel like you've turned a corner. Like either that or you've gotten a very good wig, which, by the way, still not a bad option for the nonsense that you pull.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I tried a few different things. I'm always trying different things with the hair. And one of the things I looked up among the many pharmaceutical conspiracies is that the only products really available for hair growth that are able to be marketed are like Rogaine, right? Mm-hmm. And supposedly there's some sort of racket associated with that where they managed to make it so that is like the only thing allowed to be marketed as like a hair growth product, like officially. But for what I found out is adenosine and caffeine have actually proven in studies to grow hair back faster than any midoxanol or anything like that. So, I used those and it seemed like it worked pretty well. So I had 2 patches in the beard too that are all cleared up now. So.
Good for you. Look at this feels like a progress report that we're coming back and doing and be like, Garry has improved hair in his beard and on the top of his head. Very good. Outstanding. Chest still needs work. Can't find any
Oh
chest
yeah,
hair there,
for sure.
unfortunately. So
For
look at
sure.
that. Gary, I want
Make
to
them
ask
all
this. So when we last spoke, before we get to fight stuff, I have to say, when we pick our jokes and I start calling you a Jada Pickett Smith, I feel like I have to apologize now because that took on a whole new context. When
Oof.
we were doing it, it was a simpler time. We didn't
Mm.
know that certain things would happen. And yet,
Mm-hmm.
there was a whole period of a year and a half where I saw Jada Pickett Smith jokes and I go, oh, yeah, we chose wrong on that one. That was not the way to go. Who knew that she would, well, choose the route that she's chosen? So
She was
have
an
you
actual
felt,
absolute monster.
I think the weird part is like, I guess on a certain part when Jada was doing a talk show about bringing her family issues to light because you need to be on TV or internet at all times. I just thought to myself, I was like,
Yeah.
this doesn't concern me because I don't watch that shit. But then when it comes on the Oscars and you go, oh, yeah, there's no getting around this. This is weird. Okay, we could stop talking about this now, right? And she's like, oh no.
Mm.
Oh no, I've had new thoughts. And you go, I regret ever making this joke.
Yeah, none of us want any of because it get to a point, like we all love like a little bit of celebrity gossip here and there. I think even those of us that are the least in tune with that sort of world, like we get a little bit of entertainment out of it. But I think like we respected Will Smith so much for so long, even after what had transpired. Like the more she just kept pouring it on afterwards, like we all just it became at first we were like, look, oh man, yeah, Will Smith, like what an asshole for what he did, but like it just got so egregious that we were just like, man, like we feel bad for this guy. Like, like please stop saying these things about this person who was like our hero for like the last like decade and a half. Like he's like he plays like the hero in like every movie he's ever been in. It's like you build up this persona of this guy, and then this bald-headed woman just tears him down every day with some new piece of information. It's just awful, man.
It made me laugh because I could see little creaks in Will Smith's kind of persona, if you would. Like back in 2000, I think I was the only person where I go, I need a break from Will. I'm good. Wish him all the best. He can continue doing great success. Good for him. He did put out a song called Will Anium or Will 2K, if you would. And I thought, this seems a little much. Like if the chorus is really just refraining the new millennium and that you're in charge of it, but I'm gonna hop off the train for a few years and we'll see what's happening. So all of those things seem to come a little bit more to fruition, though, when you go, oh, well, I of course feel bad for you in this situation that you Manchurian candidated your way up and slapped the shit out of Chris Rock in a way that was not a bit. So there is that. Additionally, I do want to know and get to the bottom of this. Gordon's car was stolen. When did you decide to give it back to him? And what changed your mind from stealing it from the convenience of the outside part of where he lives?
Yeah. I don't know what happened with how it got stolen, like that part of it, like other than, I know that it got stolen from outside his house, but I don't know, how they managed to do it. What I've been seeing recently is that they find like ways to amplify the signal of your keys. Mm-hmm. Like they'll have like an antenna or something that they'll hold up like outside your house. I don't know if this is what these guys did. And then they can use the signal from your keys that you're close enough to your car to start it. And I wonder if they did something like that. But yeah, that was crazy. That was great because he lives in like a super nice neighborhood. And the other thing is like, okay, so you have to imagine like some super nice neighborhoods are going to get targeted. Like I'm sure that happens in LA a ton, which makes sense. But what's kind of wild is like he's like, if you go into that neighborhood, he's kind of really tucked into the back corner of that neighborhood, like as far as you could possibly go. So like if I was someone trying to steal from a wealthy person in a wealthy neighborhood, I would want to do it in a way where like it was harder for me to get caught. Like Gordon's at the end of a cul-de-sac. So it's like, I don't know. I just feel like there's smarter people to steal from, but who knows, maybe Maybe they just thought that was the best car to steal. I don't know, man. But he got it back pretty damn quick.
Well, he did. And I have to say, there's no better journey than taking on the following, which is, oh shit, somebody stole your car? Oh man, I feel bad. Oh, it's Joe Biden's fault. That feels weird. Okay. So then when you start with this, I go, I don't know what to feel about this, Gordon. And then 2 seconds later, he gets it back. And I go, well, I guess he found it in Joe Biden's America, which really kills this argument. And I just think to myself, can I just feel bad for him for 2 seconds without any kind of weird shit? Because I wanted to feel bad that this dude lost his car.
Now, Raf, here's what I'll say about this. And you know that I'm always going to take this stance, probably every interview that we ever have.
Sure.
You're going to have to go back and put yourself in the place that we were when you first started interviewing me, and you used to criticize any criticism that I would have towards Gordon and say that I was a mean-spirited, nasty coach towards this innocent young boy. Okay? And just know that I knew exactly who he was then and who he was going to become. And, I was criticized for, anything I said negative about him. And, here we go.
Okay, first of all, I understand you better. And I have gone on record on this show. I want to be very clear. I have gone on record with multiple guests that said the exact same thing that you did, which is, yeah, I used to give Gary shit because it's like, why are you picking on this, you said, boy, which, by the way, put that one together and figure out if that doesn't get taken out of context. But yes, I just thought to myself, this seems rude. Why are you stealing this man's belt? Why are you treating this kid like shit off air? And I would tell him, like, bro, chill. I don't understand why this is happening. However, don't applaud yourself on the back. You didn't kill a baby Hitler here. You didn't do anything. You legitimately were part of the build of this. So I don't know what parts of Gordon he didn't see from learning from you and thinking to myself and going, oh, I'm just going to go one worse.
Right. Yeah, I wonder the same thing sometimes. But at the very least, I didn't applaud it every step of the way. I mean, at the very which is what some of these people were. Oh yeah, I know. Look at this, nice young boy. It's like, no, dude. Like, I was hard on him at the very least. So I mean, you're not wrong though. I mean, I was definitely one of his main influences. So I probably have to bear some level of the brunt of responsibility for how he turned out. So. I will say this, speaking to what he was saying about Biden's America or whatever. I'm not gonna go down that road. But we were just talking because Dan's car just got broken into. Somebody smashed, one of his windows. And like, man, growing up and like, granted, I'm sure I was in a nice, what would I say? I don't know how to put this, but I was probably in a neighborhood where this was far less likely to happen. Growing up. So it's understandable that I didn't know a lot of people that got their windows broken into and stuff like that. But even as I started to grow up and went into more populated areas and different things, like, man, this idea of people just smashing into people's windows and stealing cars and stuff, like, I wasn't really exposed to people doing that until I went to San Francisco and hung out with Jake Shields. And he was like, yeah, this is like a regular occurrence every day. Like, people just smash windows and steal cars and like do whatever here in San Francisco. And now it's like, it just seems like it's a regular thing everywhere. Like, now I know different people from different places all over the place that are getting their windows smashed into, cars stolen, and things. So I'm not relating that to one specific political leader's reign, but I will make a comment on the general decay of the state of the world and say that, like, man, what the fuck is going on right now?
That's fine.
Nobody's I definitely think that I think it's hard to make an assessment that we're not in a worse place as a society now than we were, let's say, 20 years ago.
You guys are going to love cause and effect when you get around to that part of the textbook. But I do want to say this. Perhaps you shouldn't walk around Jake Shields that much, because that might be the bigger issue. I don't know that it's any political issue as much as it is somebody having some beef with Jake, because that man is enjoying his time on any kind of social media content that he can create in terms of a sentence that somehow will trigger people. But what I would point out here, Gary, is this. Famously, when I had a car, I think somebody mistook my car, this is like 12 years ago, and literally smashed my window twice. And I didn't get out there and be like, oh, Mitt Romney, you goddamn bitch. Like, I just sat there and was like, this fucking sucks. Like, I do feel, though, the only thing that makes it odd is that you see a video and in the first 2 words, you know exactly where you stand with Gordon, where he's like, fuck Joe Biden. And I'm like, huh? What Tourette's is happening now? And he's like, I lost my card. I go, oh, I feel bad. I don't. Do I? I don't. Who cares? He has money. It's fine. He'll be fine. And then he found his car. And then by the end of it, I have to tell you this, though. There was a split second because I was trying to figure out the wording of it. And I know now that you live in Texas, this might actually be a huge song. But for a split second, I did think about reworking the song Fast Car by Tracy Chapman into Gordon lost his car kind of a thing. And then he got it back, and I said, well, fuck that. Now it's not even funny, so I'm not going to do it. So fuck this.
Right.
All right, let's talk about your fight, which was good, and you did a good job. And you know why? Because you remember jiu-jitsu. And there's so many times when I sit there and I wonder, God damn it, Gary, just can we all go home earlier? Enough with this punch kick. Just beat the fuck out of this person with all of your jiu-jitsu knowledge and prowess. So talk to us about how this match finally came together, because to me, I felt like we were trying to vote you onto a card. Like you were trying to incite people to be like, hey, you guys want to let them know that I might know where Denver is and I can go there? And I was like, yeah, put them on the card, guys.
Yeah, that was nuts. Like the idea of not putting me on their first US card, like don't get me wrong, like they put guys on there that I thought made sense, you know, for sure. It made sense to put Sage on there, made sense to put I think one of the Rotolos did a match or something. It's like, okay, like those make sense, but it's like, how do you not? I had plenty of time to be on that card. It's not like there's nobody in the division. And you know what it was is like really for me that bit me about it more than anything else is like that it didn't feel as though there was any effort to do it at all. Like, no, first of all, I had to find out about the card its existence all on my own. Like nobody was like, hey, you know, by the way, you know, I know you're one of our most prominent U.S. fighters, and you've been with us for, 5 years now. We're doing a U.S. card. Like, how can you be involved? How can we, get you involved in this in some way? Like, nothing in that sort. Like, even if they were like, man, there's no way we're going to be able, every opponent that we can think of is busy and this, that. It just didn't seem like it was happening at all. There's like no level of communication. I think at the very end, like maybe a week before the event or something, they were like, oh yeah, well you could, we'll send you out there and you can watch or whatever. But like at that point I had already, had plans and stuff and I was doing something else. So, but it's like, yeah, man, it's so weird. Like I didn't get it. I'm pretty confident with these next 2 US cards, based off of the feedback that I'm hearing that, I'll definitely be a part of at least one of these cards. But yeah, it was so crazy to me that I was with them for 5 years. And it's like how many US fighters do they have that were like on my level that it didn't make any sense to put, or at least have a fucking conversation with me. But anyway, is what it is. I don't want to have a full tirade about it here. It's neither here nor there, but it was kind of crazy.
I'm just saying the occurrence of it made it seem like there's very few scenarios in which your name didn't get brought up. And it seemed more like a choice not to, where they're like, Gary, nah, he's
right. Good. This is exactly how it made me feel. I was just like, wow, what a kick to the nuts.
Or what ends up happening is they probably saw your social media. They're like, you know what? This dude needs a break. We need to like sit him down for like 5 minutes, put him in a timeout. He'll come back. Everything will be fine. Everybody's good with space and time. That's what it is. Or they just saw the fact that you weren't putting up as much T&A, and it's possibly because you're in a happy and good relationship. And I think that is progress. So that is good. So congratulations to you, Gary.
Thanks. You're welcome. Think that that's the reason that they didn't put me on the card?
I mean, listen.
They're like, no more ass. He's not posting any more ass, so, we can't put him on the card.
I'm just saying, you probably trend better when you're doing that. You know what it is? There's probably a Garry Tonon chart where you could level the mental stability, where it's like, uh-oh, no TNA. Is he all right? Somebody call him. Oh, look, he found one, a big booty Latina, and we're back in business, everybody. Uh-oh, he found the Asian page. We're in business. So I just want to make sure that we always check in on mental health, because that's an important thing. So this finds out that you are going to then have a fight what does camp look like for you, and how long out do you know? Because the nice part about this was you get to announce it, and I was like, oh, all right, we've got to fight in some time. And the hard part was, one, they are very good about putting out a number of cards, but there was a moment where I thought you were fighting one Friday, and then I just looked down and I go, oh shit, it's not for 2 more weeks. So I was like, oh, I don't even know exactly when you're fighting, but I knew it was sometime essentially in January.
Yeah. They did a better job with this one for sure. They did a better job with this one for sure of like actually giving us time to promote and everything. Like there's a lot of times where I like know I'm gonna have a fight, and I know it's like over 8 weeks away, and they just don't announce anything until like 4 weeks out. And it's like, like I only get like a few weeks to really do it. And by the time we're 4 weeks out, it's like, man, as the fight gets closer and closer, sure, I'll post things here and there, but I mean, that's like the lowest concern on my list. Like, as I'm getting closer to a fight, it's a big deal. It's like a big undertaking. It's like, it's a big, to me, it's a huge risk, every single time I go out there. So like, I really am doing the best that I can to be prepared. So social media takes a back seat to any of that, especially this fight. I thought this was a really, really dangerous fight. I was very, very quiet on social media for the whole lead up for the most part. I just reposted a few things to just keep it super easy on myself. I wasn't really staying super vocal about what was going on because it just made sense to prepare. I mean, Martin was a 2-division champion, almost 3-division champion when I first started in the sport. And, I've been looking at this fight for a long time. I look at him as a super dangerous opponent. He knocks a lot of people out, knocks a lot of people down with his overhand. And, for sure, I was shaking in my boots about that. So, I had to be as prepared as possible. So, yeah, it was nice to have a lot of notice for this one for sure. But yeah, I took it super seriously and prepared to the best of my ability. And we ended up going even better than I could have thought it would have went because, I respected him so much. I just didn't even see there as a possibility. I wouldn't say as a possibility, but I didn't see things going with a high probability of me, finishing him in the first round. I thought, we were going to probably have to scramble a few times or something like that before I was really able to put him away. So it was pretty cool to be able to just shut him out, basically after the first punch.
Yeah, I mean, you and me both. Because once I saw you in the promotion row say the following, which is, I'll beat him up with my fists. And I go, nope, don't let this man talk. Just do work, Garry. Because once I started doing that, maybe other people have different interpretations of you, but I hear that as Ricky Bobby inverted, I don't know what to do with my fists. This is you now going into that territory and thinking, I'm so glad I'm not your publicist, but it doesn't mean that I don't have moments where I go, just beat the shit out of him, Garry. Just literally just do exactly what you did, which was great. And it was a great, effective strategy because what's really great about introducing you to people a long time ago, Garry, and this is how old we are now. I could say to somebody, Garry Tonon is one of the most exciting grapplers of all time. Still is. Unfortunately, now there's a new generation of kids with TikTok, brains warped, all of these issues that they have now, ADHD, whatever. And now I'm like, do you know who Garry Tonon is? And they're like, oh, does he fight on occasion? I was like, oh God, these kids don't even know. They don't even know what an EBI is. So when I have to tell them about your resume and dial up the fucking internet from ye olden times to show clips, when I saw that footage of you getting the win, it was legitimately classic you. It was you implementing a strategy, basically making it so that a person couldn't even move, and then getting the job done. And there's nothing that makes me happier than seeing you in not just a return to form, but just showing what you are capable of, so that when you say things like, yeah, I want a title shot, it seems inevitable now, you're making a very, very accurate statement.
Sure. Yeah, I think it's funny that you say that it's classic me because I would disagree with that. I would argue that it would be like classic Gordon maybe, but not classic me. Classic me usually has a match where things go back and forth about 150 times before I end up submitting somebody, which is part of what makes me so exciting. I'm more of I'm going to keep moving until I finally put you I finally see an opportunity to put you away. Whereas Gordon is much more of like, I'm going to close off all opportunities for you to do literally anything And then I'm going to finish you whenever I feel like it. It's more the way that he grapples. So it was a little bit more Gordon style, I think, this fight than it was Garry Tonon style, because you really didn't see too much back and forth. It was basically just take down, mount, back take, submission, you know. And not to say that I've never had a match like that in my career, but I would say most of the matches I'm most well known for were a lot more back and forth, you know, a lot of action in both directions, you know, both defensively and offensively. And, you know, hey, I mean, that's super cool. But in the fighting world, as opposed to the grappling world, that gets a little bit more dangerous. I mean, a lot of people love to watch, you know, two people standing in front of each other throwing haymakers at each other's heads. But, you know, it's not your head that's getting hit. So you got to understand, I don't want to deal with any more of that than I need to, you know? So now that I'm at a stage in my, you know, when I first started fighting, I toyed around a little bit more with the standing position and said, hey, you know, I'll play a little bit more here even when I don't need to. But now when I get out in these fights, like, you know, I'm prepared for the standing position. We do a ton of stand-up work, but I'm not particularly looking to spend any more time getting my head punched than I need to, you know?
Well, I'm not going to tell you how you grapple or try to redefine you, but I would say this. Perhaps, and maybe we can trace this back to you're a huge proponent of ADHD awareness, but I just felt like in those moments, especially learning and observing you more, that it was just when you decided to dial in and you were like, oh, I should end this match now, that you would end this match. But like you were fucking around for a good part of it, and that's what made it so entertaining in some of those matches. However, people haven't seen you actually grapple on the side of it where you will tool with people and I go, oh, if he really wants to, this could be a wrap. I think he's just having fun or enjoying himself. So it does show to me a very high functioning version of it where I go, yeah, if he ever wanted to. And I know this from my own experience with you, which was, I think I tapped out from just, I'm bored and exhausted and this is terrible and I hate it. But from other people's perspective, I was like, yeah, when you really want to, you can do this. The hard part is when you want to show off new tools and you go, oh, I kind of want to do this punch kick and see what I've learned and test myself. And as you're getting closer to that title, I want to be like, well, win the title. And then, you know, fuck around and go back to whatever fun, entertaining things you want to do. But wrapping this up, dude, it was so good to see that happen so quickly and for you to be able to get the job done. I should ask this. We'll come back to the fight in a certain area, but it may have to do with this. What is the last disappointment that John Danaher has had with you? Because you always tell us these wonderful stories about John, but we never really get to hear the disappointing sides. And if so, I'd like to know what was the most recent disappointment by Danaher in you.
Man, it's constant, I feel, you know. John has a great way of drawing out, you know, I guess it's probably arguable whether or not it's great, but you know, for me, I think it's a great way of drawing out, you know, the best in people and a certain level of perfection. And, you know, a part of that is, you know, not being satisfied with, you know, kind of anything less than that. So, you know, I think leading up to fights and stuff, you know, John's is pretty good about trying to build your confidence and things. I don't think he wants you to go into a fight thinking that you fucking suck. So maybe he's a little bit more complimentary leading up to a big match or something. But man, on a day-to-day basis, when I'm sparring or trying to do drills or whatever the case may be, I'm getting constant criticism. I'll like, you know, I do something, my best interpretation of whatever it is that John wanted me to do. And then he literally, the face that John makes when what I would describe as like a very minor, something that is very minorly wrong with whatever it is that you're doing. Like maybe like, I don't know, like the jab didn't come out quite as explosive as like he really wanted to, or with the right cadence or whatever the case may be. But the face that he makes, or maybe you stepped your left foot like a few inches further out to that than he really wanted it to go. The face that he makes is literally like, it's like a combination between like the disgust of like smelling like the worst fart or shit that you've ever smelled in your entire life, and like, but also like the the level of like disgust or disappointment that you would associate with like a, you know, like a family member, like a close family member dying, but in like an embarrassing way, you know? And that's like the way that he looks at you on like a day-to-day basis when you just like slightly mess up a technique. So yeah, that's an everyday thing. I can't even really draw to like one specific example.
Understood. I just always feel like there's so many examples and people always want to know the inner makings of like, man, what makes John great? And I've noticed over the years, because you have told stories as well, but over the years I've noticed, I'm like, I think he actually communicates less. Like he's in his Dave Chappelle jazz experiment where I'm like, I don't know how many jokes I hear from Chappelle per minute anymore, but you get a sense of like, he's so good at his craft that he can communicate things by his actual physical demeanor. I feel the same thing with Danaher, where he's just like, and that might be more damning than anything he might say. So I just wondered if that was part of the inner workings behind the scenes.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, man, for sure. The looks are a big part of it, and it's definitely nonverbal communication is definitely how he gets some of the job done. He's pretty soft spoken, despite, you know, people watch his instructional videos and they see, you know, him talk about a technique for, you know, 45 minutes, but yeah, on a day-to-day basis, definitely not. He's trying to use as few words as possible to describe whatever it is that he's trying to describe. So yeah, facial expressions are definitely a part of it.
The other part of it was, I think I was watching like something with Sir Patrick Stewart, and I go, oh, him as like a very supporting lead commander, and I go, oh God, it's kind of like reverse Danaher, where instead, where it's like, Gene, use your powers. It's more like him looking at you and be like, Gary, I don't know why I teach. I don't know why I do this. And then reevaluating some of his life choices, but with whatever wit he is doing. So there is that. When you did pull this off, though, do you mind kind of walking us through what the thought process was to execution? So did it go exactly like you had in your head, or did you have to make any adjustments when you were getting this finish?
Yeah, man. So like I said, I think the way that I envisioned this fight going, but just because of how long I've watched Martin and how many bad spots that he's worked his way out of, I really just thought that this was going to be a little bit more back and forth before I was able to get a submission or anything. But in the sense of the actual exchanges that took place, I mean, it was very much exactly the kind of stuff that we worked on. And I talked about in one of my posts how I've worked with John on a number of training camps for other athletes in MMA. And it was always like so crazy to see so many of the things that athlete drilled during camp, you know, happening in the fight. Because I mean, you know, you look at a fight, it's like seems like a pretty chaotic and unpredictable, you know, event. I mean, it's even myself, you know, I occasionally, I really don't do this very often, mostly because they make it so goddamn difficult. But occasionally I've placed like a bet on a mixed martial arts bout. I'm pretty sure I'm probably like, I'm like 1 for 10 in predicting like the outcome of a mixed martial arts bout. And that's coming from a person who like does this, you know what I mean? And like, I watch these guys and like, I don't just like watch these guys for entertainment. Like I watch these guys, I study these guys and I'm like, okay, you know, this guy does this guy does that. And it's like, and I'm still like that bad at predicting the outcome of a fight, you know, with athletes that aren't, you know, my guys. So it's a tough thing, man. So, but anyway, you know, he has a special knack for figuring out, you know, what's going to be the most likely situations that are going to come out in these fights, you know, knowing his athlete and and studying the athlete that you're going to be fighting. And, you know, one of the things that we drilled, like for sure, we drilled a ton of was, you know, clinching as, you know, Martin throws that right hand, you know, jabbing. And then when he gives the response, you know, clinching up, and it worked perfectly, man. You know, he came right into the position that we wanted, hit a beautiful Kosoto, got him down on the ground. And then from there, like, you know, we worked a lot of, and we studied a lot of like BJ Penn, just kind of stepping over legs right into the mount. Something that he did way better than a lot of other athletes. I don't know if are you getting this coming through clear? Because mine's got a little lag on it.
You know, there was a split second where it just had a lag, but I think it just caught back up again.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. I'll just continue where I was. It's like a half second delay for me right now.
I understand. My apologies on that, sir.
No, it's all good. As long as it's good for you, I'll keep going.
You're perfectly fine.
All right, cool. So, yeah, we were studying a lot of BJ Penn. He was just stepping over the legs to the mountain for his era. Like, I mean, even post, like, there's not a lot of people that are able to do some of the things that he was doing. And I think I did that pretty beautifully, going right into the mountain position. And I had a moment in the fight where I got to that position, and we do a lot of grapple box, like I'm hitting people when I'm grappling them and stuff. And I did throw strikes. But there's ways to do it where you can definitely open up more than I did. And it was so early in the fight that I got to such a dominant position that I was like, hey, Gary, like, let's not screw this up, man. Like, let's not ruin, all the good work that we've got going on here. And let's just focus on doing just enough to get this guy to turn, and then you're going to take his back. And, because you got him right where you want him. Like, as much as I want to do damage from this position, it's like, if I posture up and just start throwing wild strikes here, I might let him get away from me, and I have a perfect opportunity to take his back. So, let's just focus on that. And that's what I did. I did just enough to get him to turn and expose his back. And once I got behind, it was kind of a similar story. It's like I can take some risks when I have somebody's back in terms of trying to find ways to submit them. And I have a number of different ways that I do this. I have a number of different things where I can kind of jump off the back to go for certain submissions that open up. But I really wanted to spend some time there because, like I said, it's just so soon that I got to this position in the fight that it's like, man, let's just try to do our best to finish this, be as conservative as possible. And then it got to like a minute left, and I was like, okay, we got to open up a little bit. So I start throwing some strikes to the body with my legs to try to open up the neck. I started trying to step over arms and do some different things to set things up. But I had another moment where I go, you know what, Gary? You train every day with these guys that are like, the best in the world or trying to be the best in the world at grappling. And you're trying to strangle them from the back. And you got to come up with all these really intricate ways to do it because they deal with other high-level athletes like yourself trying to strangle them on a day-to-day basis. I don't think that he's got that. Like, I don't think he's got the same, ability to defend from the back like these guys that you're training with on a day-to-day basis. And I had this like slight, dialogue happening in my head. And I'm like, I think if you just like keep kind of punching the arm through, like you're going to get where you need to go and you're going to strangle this guy. Like, there's no question. Like, you're going to do it. You don't need to do anything super crazy, to open this guy up. Like, you're going to get a clean punch around his neck and you're going to get this strangle in. And, after that, that's pretty much exactly what happened. I had an opportunity where I kind of elevated on an elbow for a minute and punched the strangle across deep enough. And I knew I had him. So yeah, it worked out beautifully.
I'm so
to his
glad.
credit, I will say this one thing to his credit. Sorry, real quick. There's a lot of people in those situations that just like stick their fucking fingers inside your gloves and shit and make things really annoying, like do illegal shit to try to stop themselves from getting strangled. And I don't recall a moment where he ever really did that, where he like grabbed a single finger or like tried to thread his fingers into my gloves or like did anything like, that I look at as like, oh, come on, man. Like, defend yourself, but don't be a fucking piece of shit. So, he did the best that he could to defend himself in the way that's, in alignment with the actual rules, unlike previous opponents that I've had before where I went to strangle them on the back and they did things like, even in fucking jiu-jitsu, my first match with, Wagner Hosha, when I did ADCC trials, the first ADCC trials that I won, he was fucking grabbing individual fingers and fucking twisting them back when I was on his back. So, I mean, hey man, kudos to Martin for, playing inside the rules and being a, respectable athlete.
I mean, to be fair, Wagner does seem like the person who's playing a board game who's like, what do you mean you can't put a 2-on-2? Draw two. That's what you can do. It'd be like, Wagner, it says on the website you cannot do that. These people created Uno. I feel like they would know, sir. So I understand. A couple things kind of stick out to me from that. Thank you for that wonderful analysis breakdown. The first thing is that I love that the inner voice of Garry Tonon is essentially Gil from The Simpsons. That's like, oh, come on, Gary, we really need this win. Oh, man, don't screw this up for us, buddy. You got to get this submission. Oh, boy. So hearing you describe that takes me out for a second. But the second, and let me propose this. When fighting is all said and done, most fighters try to find a racket. And even those who kind of come back and forth. Henry Cejudo, guess what? Cringe is my thing. Sugar Sean, cringe, but for weird hair people. Everybody has their thing. I think what you should do, you should go all in being the MMA Jim Cramer. What I mean by that is all the predictions that you make go the opposite. And people are going to be like, what did Gary say is going to happen in this fight? Do the opposite. $100 down on the opposite of whatever he said. And I guarantee you, I think I see a very fruitful life for you in post, sir.
There you go. There you go, for sure. Well, you know, saying like that I was going to hit him and all this stuff, it's like, it's part of like what I imagined was going to have to happen, because I just thought that it wasn't going to be as easy to get him down and submit him. So I just thought that I was going to have to get into some more punching exchanges with this guy, but it ended up happening that way. So
it did. And I should ask these following follow-up questions. First and foremost, did a Japanese toilet end up getting purchased?
Not yet, but I promise it will. I really just got home like a few days ago, and I was sick at the end of my travels and stuff like that. So I haven't had the opportunity, but it will be.
So what does that search history then look like when you go, thank you for the 50K. Now, time for Gary to find his dream toilet. Yes. Nope. Yes. Nope. Like, what are you looking for? What is going to stand out to you the most?
Probably the most powerful jet stream that I can find.
Fair enough. You know what? Never mind. Taco Bell sponsored Jetstream. That's what you've got. Dude.
We'll see if we can replace the water with Baja Blast.
By the way, I don't know if you've gone or frequented a Taco Bell recently, especially not in fight camp. I don't think you have. But they've recently changed their Sprite option to a Starry. And my favorite thing, they called their version of a Sprite is now a Starry. And
what is that? I've never even heard of that.
Oh, yeah. It's just more different Sprite. Like, I guess they rebranded it or whatever it is. But the worst part is they are correcting you. Like people who correct grammar, if you would. Where when I drove through and I go, yeah, can I get, I guess a Nacho Bel Grande, chicken quesadilla and Sprite? And they're like, we don't carry Sprite. It's a Starry, sir. And I go, hey, man, I'm here for a reason in that I gave up. So I'm really not here to just get into a debate as to what we're calling it. I called it a Sprite. You know exactly what I mean.
Right.
Just give me the goddamn Sprite. If it's a Starry, just put it in and tell me like I'm an old person and just go like, here's your Sprite, old man.
Like how many people do you it begs the question, like, what is the rationale for doing that, right? Like, did someone go through, order a Sprite, and then they gave them the Astari and they drank it? And first of all, they were able to discern that it wasn't Sprite. And they went back to the drive-through window. They put their car in reverse. It was like, I said Sprite. And they just threw the fucking
What also made me think, what Mexican grandma renamed this? They're like, is this Sprite? No, it's Starry. What? It's a Starry. No, mijo, you come here. You get the Starry. You like it. And I go, I think grandma just can't pronounce Sprite now. So I guess it's Starry. All right. That's how we got the rebrand. Yeah. Or is just the cheap Mexican version, which fine.
It's kind of like Starbucks sizes, right? Like, thankfully now, like when you go to Starbucks and you say like, I'll take a medium, like usually they're pretty like fine with it, you know, but every once in a while you get that one where it's like, well, it's actually a grande or venti or whatever the fuck. It's like, dude, just give me a fuck. You have 3 sizes, the middle of the 2, you fucking assholes, you know? Like, what do you think I mean?
To be fair, I think the first time it happened to me, because I wasn't expecting it and I didn't know what to do and it seemed insulting in their language. In a panic, I just pointed to what it was. And so they're like, sir, it's not a medium. And I go, that one. And they go, All right, he's a child. Just give him what he wants. So I have learned many different tricks. I also, because we didn't talk really about this, I think, in the recent times. I don't know that we talked about it after this win. Can you tell me about the knee bar that you hit in the previous fight? Because to me, that's a special kind of spicy. Here's why. It does vaguely venture into the shit of pro wrestling where I go, oh, that looks like it doesn't work. But the way that you lock it is I was like, oh no, it's a legit thing. It's just so funny that that particular version of a knee bar was the one you were able to catch.
Well, you remember the other two prominent matches where I hit that move, right?
Mm-hmm.
Halleck Gracie and AJ Agazar.
Now, hold on.
Safety bar.
I want to tell you this. Before I get this answer, I suppose we should go into this. This is how you know time is the healer of all things. Because, oh my goodness, here's AJ Agazarm again. I have seen him. Oh, it's Dylan. Dylan's back in the news. Oh, okay. And then you see Metamoris' social media account re-engaged, which begs the question, Gary, when are you heading Metamoris 900?
Dude, oh man, those are the days. But yeah, the knee bar, dude. The knee bar was it's funny because I do it in training all the time. You know, like during sparring, it's very very likely that I get into situations where we're up against the fence. You know, obviously I'm a grappler, so you know it's constant clinching, and you know eventually you get pushed up against the wall. And it's definitely like a big go-to for me when somebody gets behind me. So for John and for any of my training partners, it's like a super, super common move, but I have yet to be in that position to hit that move in a fight yet. So it was pretty cool to pull it out and, you know, late in my career and have somebody be surprised by it because it's something that I do on a pretty regular basis.
It's such a great entry. And as you pull it off, I just remember thinking to myself, like, there is a moment of panic for some MMA fighters or folks whenever they get in those submissions where they're like, no, it can't end like this. Please not like this. God damn it, I'm going to get tapped by this. Which I think is probably better than any knockout, honestly, because you can see the panic. At least with the knockout, there's definitely a light switch that goes out. This is a slow burn of like,
yeah.
So I'm just saying,
the way in which I did it, I drew out the moment, right? Like, so I put him in the initial lock, like with full extension, and like he wasn't willing to tap, and I held him there for a few seconds before I went to like a true, you know, finishing breaking position. So he had the illusion that like he was going to be okay, and then then he was not okay.
Hey, listen, he made the right choice. It just, you know, hey man, listen, there's other fights. So happy for those moments.
Yep.
Sad for this one for them. But for you, happiness indeed. But yeah, congratulations on all that, sir. I guess I should go to a couple quick things before we call it a day on this part of the interview, which is that you seem to have turned a corner in terms, we mentioned, of course, mental health, but you do seem to be a little bit happier. I'm always happy to see that. And I wondered, has the role of being a animal or pet parent, has that helped you? Because I saw you had some birds recently. Where did this come from? And did you just steal one from the sky and put one in a cage? What happened here and how did this happen?
I wish that's the way that it happened. That would have been great. We actually did have some birds living right outside the house. In like they built a little nest above the door that we were, you know, I'll say this about those birds, man, what terrible parents, because whenever you would go to enter the door, like they had already like laid their egg or there was baby chicks in there, right? The parents would just disappear. They're like, oh yeah, we can have more kids. Like if this giant thing like comes and wants to kill our kids, I mean, we shouldn't all die, you know, just the kids. So, but anyway, yeah. So I have 3 chickens now, and I have them because Ryan Benoit, he fought in the UFC. He's a 125er. He was with me for this training camp for Martin. And the first day that he came down to train, he had a conversation with my girlfriend about chickens, and just decided to take it upon himself to go to the store. And we're in Texas, so you can do this out here. You know, in Jersey, you'd probably have a tough time. But here in Texas, you can just go to the store and buy chickens. Like, that's just a thing that you can do. So he just went to the store like 10 minutes away, bought some chickens, and then there was chickens in my backyard when I came home. So yeah. And then, I don't know, man, you know, once we had them, obviously the girlfriend didn't want to, you know, Amanda didn't want to, you know, lose them or get rid of them. She obviously loved them. So I wanted to try to take care of them best of my ability. These things grow so goddamn fast. You know, it started in like a little bin that you would like put, you know, a little storage bin. But they were outgrowing it so quickly. I had to build something for them. So I took like a week to build, you know, with my like absolute minuscule knowledge of how to build anything. It's literally like this thing. If you look at it from far away, this thing that I built, you're like, oh yeah, that's cool. Like he built like a, you know, little chicken coop thing. It's like, if you got like real close, it would look like a sixth grader that like took wood shop for 1 year. Like just like copied, you know, just pasted some shit together with wood glue and a bunch of nails. It's a disaster. So I'm going to get better. But
don't worry. It's Texas. Nobody's going to inspect it either. I just know that when I'm looking at it, I just think to myself, you know, this is a good like side therapy gig. It's good for getting out your system, especially sitting there and going like, I'm good at heel hooks, but I don't know how to connect chicken wire. How the fuck does this work? And I thought this is a good exploration. Yeah. It's like you getting your gardening phase on. So I was very pro this. And also, I mean, I don't know that I love you having to take care of another human being or living thing. But I was like, you know, this is a good learning opportunity. So there is that. So congratulations again, sir. Yeah. That is very, very good stuff.
We're definitely violating our HOA.
Nope, sure. Don't incriminate yourself. Plead the fifth.
Definitely not supposed to have chickens.
Can I, Gary, come here, Gary. I want to point this out. When I do what I'm doing, I am not trying to incriminate you. I am just asking you questions about what does it feel like to have a chicken around? And you don't have to be the one that says, "Ooh, by the way, BT dubs, not legal." Because I didn't ask that question.
I know.
This is the shit. So I do my best to make sure that an episode of the Grappling Hour is not going to be used in court testimonials in the future. And every one of you idiots, every once in a while, test that theory so that once they're going to get to like that Vince McMahon phase where they go, oh, did he say this on a podcast once?
I have paid taxes now. So there's that. You know, they can't get me for that anymore. I am up to date on my taxes, man. How cool is that? I'm like a real adult.
I'll say this, Gary. I think it only was predictable that you would follow in your true love for Nick Cage than to have tax problems in your adult career in life. And it does explain why maybe you took some of the matches that you did. So you could do that. Because Nick Cage has now come out and been like, oh, I did that movie for the money. And you go, we know, dude. We were all there.
To his credit, yeah, he does some really dumb movies, but like he puts his all into that shit. Like he doesn't do the dumb movie and then like half-ass it. Like he's all in every fucking movie that he does.
Hey, listen, I used to mock him mercilessly for like years where I'd be like, dude, it feels like only every 7 years he gives us one good role that you make go. And you think to yourself, fuck, that is so good. Why did I ever talk shit about Nicolas Cage? And then there's some direct-to-video one where you go, oh, no, but God, why did I finish this movie? But yes, it is quite good. And if you have not seen The Unbearable Lightness of Unbearable Talent or whatever, the one with Pedro Pascal.
Good.
Oh,
yeah, so good.
Success. Beautiful work. Gary, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you, what does 2024 look like? Do we see you fight more? Is a title happening? Are you at ADCC? Are you taking side challenges matches? Are we seeing you beat up AJ Agazarm again this year? Like, what's happening this year in your brain?
Yeah. Well, it kind of comes down to the way that one decides to do things. I will say, because those two U.S. shows are pretty late in the year, it makes it very unlikely that I'm going to be able to do ADCC, because those shows, I'm assuming ADCC is usually pretty late in the year. It's like September, October, something like that.
August.
It would be, oh, it's in August. Okay. Well, either way, if it's in August, and I'm fighting in September, it's like unrealistic for me to do ADCC. So I would say, yeah, unlikely, barring for whatever reason, somehow something happens fight schedule wise that changes that. But we're trying to fight for this title, so that's got to be number one. And if something happens in a way where it makes sense to compete in ADCC, I will. But more than likely, you'll see me fighting for a title this year, hopefully on U.S. soil. So that'll be pretty damn cool.
Beautiful. Gary, you have DVDs out. Do you know the names of them? Ooh, this is a good game I should play with guests. This is exactly what I should do.
So in my previous DVDs, I put a lot of extra effort in naming them the way that I wanted to. And these two that I just put out on taking the back and defending the back, I didn't. So because I didn't myself name them, and I think BJJ Fanatics probably just like came up with a name, I don't remember the names of these. I remember all the ones that I named, probably inappropriately. But the problem is that when I was doing the back taking and the back defense DVDs, I was getting way too excited with the names. And most of the names that I came up with were like pretty horrible. And when I say horrible, not like from the perspective of just like bad naming, but from like, this is just bad for business. Like the jokes that I was coming up with for taking the back and defending the back it wasn't going to be good for my career or, my future or anything like that. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to inappropriately do this. So I'm just going to let BJJ Fanatics handle it. So
good for you in letting the AI decide what the name of your DVD is going to be. And I love that we can see the maturity and growth in you, where you go, maybe false reap accusations isn't the best of names.
That's pretty good. I'm not really good at the false reap, but if I was putting out a DVD, that's solid. Somebody should steal that. Probably Jeff Glover. If Jeff Glover puts out a false reap DVD, he'll do it.
Somebody already has done that one, and
oh, have they?
That is a Craig Jones real name.
That's Craig.
So that's a real one, and it's the one where I go, "Hey, bud, what are we doing here?" Like, puns are great, and these are pretty edgy that they get sometimes. I have seen some of my friends send me a note that go, "Hey, Raph, did you know I have a BJJ Fanatics?" And I go, "No, I didn't know that." And then I look down and I go, "Oh, that's the name you went with." Oh, that's the marketing. I get it now. Well, good luck to you. I will not be promoting it. But Godspeed, God bless. And then they just send me back a note. It's like, fuck you. Just kidding. No, we love all of our friends. Gary, I'm very proud of you. I'm very happy about what you did. I'm trying to think of what a good brother or dad would say in this situation. You have done good work this year. You submitted people real good. You know what? That's what we're going to go with. You submitted them real good and made it kind of irrepressible to not put you in some kind of title contention. So I look forward to doing this again very soon, where we can potentially be talking about the even bigger toilet you're able to buy after you win a championship. Because I feel like that has to be the next thing. Or you can pay some illegal immigrant to make you a better chicken house than you yourself could have put together. But those two reasons and more are all the more impressive. So, sir, I always like to give people an opportunity to shout out whoever the fuck they want to. So I'm putting the camera on you. Please feel free to give out shout or thanks or praise or whatever you want to do to anybody. Camera's on you, sir.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'd just like to thank everybody that came out to train for my, for my training camp leading up to the fight. It's the big ones for sure to thank though are, Ryan Benoit and Yu Ting. They were there for me for most of the camp and came out to Japan and everything, and of course John. For coaching every day and all that. And, all the guys that came down, I get a lot of guys, coming in from Renzo Gracie's in New York, so it's nice to be able to maintain that connection. And Jamie Crowder, from over there, he runs like their MMA program, and he's always in touch with me about, kind of prepping for fights and getting sparring partners and stuff. And, so it's great to have still have that team relationship, even though that we've moved away and now we're in Austin and all these sorts of things. So yeah, that's where most of my thanks goes, you know, to those guys, man. You know, it's really difficult to do what we do in MMA without you know, having good, safe training partners and all those guys where it's such a great job, like, you know, emulating my opponent and being good training partners and not fucking, you know, cutting my face open or anything like that leading up to the fight. I had just about the healthiest training camp I've ever had. So.
Well, congratulations to you, and thank you for making time for us. I do believe that you were on vacation, and there was a moment where you were going to potentially do the interview on vacation that made me feel somewhat bad, then not, then bad again. So we went through a lot of different emotions, but we were able to get it done.
Yeah, buddy.
All right, sir. I will talk to you in just a second. I'm going to close this bitch up, and then we'll do the thing where you make fun of me. And if you guys want to know what we're talking about, you can become a premium subscriber, and we'll get to there. But thanks, Garry. I'll see you in just a second again, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, the rest of you goons, let's say this. Thank you so much for watching. Before we get you on out of here, a couple quick reminders. First and foremost, if you like this show and you want to see these interviews 30 days before anybody else, you can go to patreon.com/grappling hour. If you go there, $5 a month, you see these interviews 30 days before anybody else. And for a few extra dollars, you can see tape breakdowns. You can see extra episodes not available anywhere else. I don't put that shit up anywhere else. And you can even see a segment that we like to call Roast Raph that Garry is going to do for one of my competition videos, which, by the way, it is not where Raph learns. It's not like Garry's giving me a free private here. This is completely me just getting roasted by somebody at a 3rd grade reading comprehension level. So you can imagine the type of content you're going to hear. And if you guys made it this far, like, comment, and subscribe. And in the like, comment, and subscription, if you would, in the comment section, it would be so great if you told us what you would do with $50,000 if you got a bonus. Some people would buy, you know, a toilet. Other people might say, hey, bud, put that away, invest it. And the smartest of people will say, I'm going to spend this on Taco Bell. So you can tell us what you want to do. Last couple things, follow us on Discord at Grappling Hour. And of course, you guys can also buy our merch, these hoodies. You saw them earlier. So soft. And our t-shirts, raffesparza.com/merch or grapplinghour.com. Well, guys, that's going to do it for us. It has been a great day for grappling. We'll see you back on the mats.